Things on the battlefield in Ukraine might be about to get a whole lot quieter and deadlier. New footage has surfaced of what experts are calling the ghost in the sky. A mysterious stealth drone unlike anything Ukraine has ever deployed before. And no, this isn't one of those commercial quadcopters strapped with grenades. This is something different. Sleeker. Faster. Smarter. Imagine a drone that looks like it rolled straight out of a top-secret U.S. Air Force hangar, but built to be cheap enough to lose in combat. That's exactly what Ukraine may have just unleashed. But here's the kicker. These drones aren't just harder to spot, they're designed to outpace Russian defenses, slipping through radar like smoke and striking before anyone even knows they're there. So what makes this new stealth drone such a game-changer? And could it rewrite the rules of modern drone warfare? Let's break it down. When you first look at this drone, something immediately feels different. It doesn't have that rough, battlefield look we've gotten used to with Ukrainian drones, the kind patched together with duct tape, GoPros, and improvised bomb racks. No, this thing looks professional, almost like it came straight off a secret U.S. Air Force blueprint. The body is sleek, aerodynamic, and designed with purpose. The most striking feature is its delta wing shape, a triangular wing design that's been the backbone of stealth aircraft for decades. Planes like the Mirage, the Concorde, and even experimental stealth fighters have used this shape because of its ability to slice through the air while staying hard to detect. Why does that matter? Radar works by bouncing radio waves off objects and measuring what comes back. The delta wing, with its slanted surfaces and smooth angles, scatters those waves in all directions. Instead of bouncing back to the radar dish, the signals just slip away. To Russian air defense operators, this drone could look smaller than a bird or disappear completely. And then there are the angled tail fins, known as canted stabilizers. If they look familiar, it's because you've seen them on the F-18, the F-35, and the legendary F-117 stealth fighter. They're not there just for looks. They cut down radar visibility even further while keeping the drone stable in flight. Every single surface flows seamlessly into the next. No sharp right angles, no exposed bolts, nothing to reflect signals. It's the same design philosophy that makes bombers like the B-2 Spirit nearly invisible in the sky. Except this isn't a multi-billion-dollar bomber. It's a disposable war machine that Ukraine can actually afford to build in numbers. And don't let the size fool you. At around 10 feet long with an 8-foot wingspan, it sits in this sweet spot. Small enough to avoid detection, but still large enough to carry serious firepower. We're talking anti-tank grenades, RPG warheads, even shaped charges that can rip through armor or demolish radar batteries. So in essence, Ukraine has taken the principles behind the world's most advanced stealth jets and miniaturized them into something cheap, fast, and deadly. And while the outside is impressive, it's what's inside, the heart of this drone, that changes the game completely. Alright, let's talk about what really makes this drone different, its engine. Because unlike the buzzing quadcopters we're used to, this thing doesn't run on propellers at all. It's powered by a jet engine. Specifically, early reports suggest Ukraine is using a US-made SW-140B micro-turbojet. And that's a massive upgrade. Why? Speed. Most propeller-driven drones top out around 30 to 50 miles per hour. They're slow, they're noisy, and Russian defenses have gotten pretty good at spotting them. But this new stealth drone, with a jet engine, it could hit 200 miles per hour or more. By the time someone realizes it's there, it's already too late. And here's the other big win, stealth. Propellers don't just make noise, they also bounce radar signals, making drones easier to track. By ditching the propeller completely, Ukraine has basically silenced two giveaways, the buzz in the air and the radar signature. Now, of course, jet engines aren't perfect. They burn fuel fast, which limits range, and they run hot, leaving a heat trail for infrared sensors. But Ukraine seems to have thought of that. The engine is tucked deep inside the body, shielding most of the exhaust. And the SW-140B is small, fuel-efficient, and reliable enough for combat conditions. So this isn't just about swapping motors. This is a complete shift in drone warfare. Instead of slow-moving targets, Ukraine now has a platform that flies like a missile, hits hard, and doesn't need to come home. And that leads us to the next big question. What exactly can this stealth drone carry when it gets to its target? So the big question is, what kind of punch does this new stealth drone actually pack? Here's the twist. It's not about high-tech, futuristic missiles. Ukraine has kept things simple, using the same battlefield explosives that have already proven devastating against Russian armor. We're talking RPG, 7 warheads, RKG, 3 anti-tank grenades, and custom-shaped charges. At first glance, that might sound underwhelming, but here's why it's genius. These weapons are battle-tested. Soldiers already know exactly how they perform. They don't need special training, and Ukraine doesn't need a brand new supply chain. They can just adapt what they already have, fast and cheap. And because this drone is about 10 feet long, it isn't limited to tiny payloads like a quadcopter. It can carry enough explosive to knock out tanks, radar systems, or even fortified bunkers. Think of it like a miniature stealth bomber. Small, fast, and designed to deliver precision strikes deep behind enemy lines. The strategy is clear. Don't overcomplicate. Use advanced design for stealth and speed. Then pair it with reliable, destructive payloads that are already in stock. It's the perfect mix of old and new technology. So instead of trying to reinvent the wheel, Ukraine is proving that sometimes the smartest move is taking what works and strapping it to something the enemy can't see coming. And to really appreciate how big of a shift this is, we need to look at how it stacks up against drones from Russia, the US, and beyond. Now, to really see why this new stealth drone is such a game changer, we need to compare it with what other countries are flying. Let's start with Russia. Their most widely used drone is the Shahid 136, an Iranian-designed loitering munition. It's cheap, it's mass-produced, and Russia has launched thousands of them. But here's the downside. They're slow, they're noisy, and they fly predictable paths. Ukrainian forces have gotten very good at spotting and shooting them down. Compared to that, Ukraine's jet-powered stealth drone is faster, quieter, and far harder to intercept. Now on the US side, you've got heavy hitters like the MQ-9 Reaper or the stealthy RQ-170 Sentinel. These are incredible machines, packed with advanced sensors, satellite links, and precision-guided weapons. But they also come with an eye-watering price tag, tens of millions of dollars each. Losing one is a huge deal. Ukraine's approach is the opposite. Make something cheap enough to risk in combat, but advanced enough to slip through defenses. And that's where the genius lies. It's not about matching US tech one-to-one or mass-producing drones like Russia. Ukraine is carving out a middle ground, affordable, stealthy, and deadly enough to tip the balance. This hybrid approach could actually rewrite the playbook for modern drone warfare. And that leaves one burning question. What happens when these drones finally hit the battlefield? So let's imagine these drones actually hitting the battlefield. What changes? First off, Russian air defenses. Right now, systems like the Panzer and Tor are built to track and destroy incoming missiles or slow, loud drones like the Shahid. But a stealthy, jet-powered drone? That's a whole new challenge. By the time radar even notices something's coming, it might already be dropping explosives on a command post or fuel depot. Second, logistics. Ukraine has already shown how devastating small quadcopters can be, taking out tanks worth millions with just a few $100s of explosives. Now scale that up with a stealth platform. Suddenly, no supply line, no ammo dump, no radar station is safe. Russia would have to spread its defenses thinner and thinner just to keep up. And here's the real kicker, psychology. War isn't only about weapons. It's about fear and uncertainty. If Russian troops know that at any moment, a nearly invisible drone could swoop in and strike, morale collapses. Soldiers hesitate. Commanders start second-guessing their movements. That's when a weapon becomes more than just hardware. It becomes a strategic advantage. In short, these drones don't just destroy. They reshape the battlefield. Faster, stealthier, and harder to stop than anything Ukraine has deployed before. But there's still one question that everyone's asking. Who's actually behind this drone's design? Because when you look at the tech, it raises eyebrows far beyond Ukraine. So here's the big mystery. Where did this drone really come from? On paper, Ukraine has claimed responsibility for its development. And that makes sense. Over the past 2 years, they've built an entire drone industry almost from scratch. But when you look closely at the design, the stealth shaping, the jet propulsion, the radar evading angles, it feels almost too advanced to be built entirely in secret, under wartime conditions. Some analysts suspect Western partners quietly shared technology. Maybe not full blueprints, but enough guidance to help Ukraine take a massive leap forward. Others argue this could simply be the result of wartime innovation. When survival is on the line, you'd be surprised how fast engineers can work. Either way, the outcome is the same. Russia now has to prepare for a drone that's cheaper than U.S. systems, deadlier than Iran's Shahids, and almost impossible to defend against. And here's the truth. If Ukraine can mass-produce these at scale, it could mark the beginning of a new era of drone warfare. Not just for this war, but for conflicts worldwide. The line between superpower weapons and accessible weapons is blurring. So, the question is no longer if this drone will be used, it's when. And when it finally takes flight over Russian skies, the entire world will be watching. Because one thing is certain, warfare will never look the same again. And trust me, this is just the beginning.